My guest tonight is the mayor of the great city of Atlanta. Please welcome to the show, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Mayor, thank you so much for making time for us today. I want to start by a speech you gave last week. You spoke both as a mayor and as a mother. It was passionate, it felt very honest. How hard has it been for you to address your city in this really trying time?
You know, what you got from me on Friday, Seth, was every emotion that I've been feeling over the past week or so, and you got it unfiltered on Friday. And like so many people, we all have so many emotions about this, and whether it's watching it and feeling it in ourselves or watching it with our kids or our communities. I had a platform Friday just to express what I felt and that frustration. And I can tell you, I didn't plan on saying any of that. I didn't know what I was going to say when I said it on Friday. And in fact, after I was done, I couldn't remember what I had said. And I think, it really speaks to how built up and just how full I felt on Friday. But I'm just grateful that it resonated with so many people.
You have made the point, which I think a lot of people would share, that the president should stop talking. When he talks, it's not particularly helpful. He obviously spoke last night about the need for law enforcement to dominate the people in the streets. How do you both protect your city and communicate with your law enforcement officers as to how to move forward with what's happening in your city?
This is a really delicate balance. And ironically, just as I was walking in here to record with you, I was speaking with my 18-year-old son. And he was telling me, showing me another video and his frustration. And what I was trying to articulate to him was when I said on Friday, I can't protect you. What I was expressing was that our law enforcement officers are tired. They are beyond exhausted at this point. They're working 18-hour shifts to try and maintain some calm and stability in our cities. And we understand the frustration and the anger and all of these emotions that people are experiencing right now. It's understandable. But on the other side of this, you also have many of our officers, especially in Atlanta, who are African American men who are experiencing these same emotions. They're experiencing that because of who they are and the children that they also are raising in this country. And it's a difficult balance, showing that support, asking our officers to show restraint and compassion, while also trying to maintain some type of order in our streets when we have so many peaceful protesters, but we have so many other people who are just attempting to be disruptors right now.
You and the chief of police made the decision to fire two police officers after watching video of their behavior. How do you balance both supporting police officers and making sure you remove the bad actors within the police force? Because it does strike me that what everybody wants to believe, what all citizens want to believe, that if there are bad police officers, they'll be removed from the force. Is that hopefully the message that comes across when you make a decision like that?
It certainly is. And the reality is that had this incident happened last week, we probably would have taken a little more time to look at what happened with this incident and with these officers. But what we've seen over the past week is we don't have the luxury of time anymore. We have to act swiftly, especially when it's very clear that our officers are not behaving appropriately. And I think that is what's to be expected or should be expected from so many of us across the country now. And it's also a culture shift for many of our police officers, that they have to understand that they won't always have another chance to get it right. It's a shift that we saw the Obama-Biden administration making when they left the handbook on 21st century policing. It's the same handbook. It's a handbook that they probably left alongside the pandemic handbook that the Trump administration never picked up. But one of the major pillars of 21st century policing is that you create trustworthy relationships with communities on the front end. And so you do things like we're doing in Atlanta, where you have a center of hope where our police recruits go and volunteer and spend time with the kids. So their first interaction with them is not a negative interaction, where you have implicit bias training. And there were several pillars to this program. And we've done a very good job in Atlanta, by and large, in following those pillars. But it's got to happen across the country, and it's got to come from a national level in terms of expectations.
Someone else who spoke passionately on stage with you last Friday was the rapper Killer Mike. He had incredibly inspiring words. How does it come to pass that you end up with a rapper on stage with you?
Well, again, these relationships are existing relationships. The irony, Killer Mike, T.I. and I all went to the same high school. I was a little ahead of both of them because I'm a little older than them, but we bleed Atlanta. We love Atlanta. And so Killer Mike and T.I. worked on my transition when I went into office. And I could probably name 10 other celebrities in Atlanta who reached out and said, what is it that I could do to help? So this is not the first time that Killer Mike has been at the table with us, setting policy for our city and having these real conversations about where we need to go and how we need to approach it. Because again, I look at everything as the lens of a mother. And I know I can say something 10 different ways, and all of my kids here want. But if T.I. says it, if Killer Mike says it, it's going to translate and it's going to be heard and it's going to be felt differently. And so on Friday, when everything started to unravel in Atlanta, I didn't have a very clear picture of what we needed to do, but I knew the voices that needed to be heard. And that's why you saw Killer Mike and Bernice King and T.I. and Joe Beasley and some other community leaders standing with me.
And I should make it clear that while he's one of my favorite rappers, he's also an incredible activist. And I think that really came through when he was on stage with you. You mentioned your older son who just graduated high school in quarantine. Is that correct?
That's right.
You also, one of your younger sons is, I believe you've referred to it as Club Quarantine. He's learning how to DJ through this time?
He is, and he loves it. He has a little corner set up in my office, and now he even stays up all night like a DJ. When I get up at 6 a.m. to take a shower, he's taking a shower to go to bed. So we don't have to undo some quarantine behaviors. But yeah, that's been the upside of this.
All right. Give all your kids our best, and give our best to the city of Atlanta, and best of luck with everything. We really appreciate the work you're doing.
And thank you so much for just giving me a platform to talk about this. And I appreciate your dedicating time to these very real discussions about where we are in this country. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.